Time to fix some more 5e. This time, we're going to be doing what I would consider one of, if not the worst, fighter subclass in the entirety of 5th edition. One that I'm sure a whole bunch of you don't even know what it is, because it's from a book that everybody forgets about, and that's the Banneret or the Purple Dragon Knight. If you're familiar, you don't even know what it is, or you want to find out and how I'm going to fix it, stay tuned. What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and it is time to fix some more 5e. So, if you missed what I was talking about at the beginning, as I've stated in many videos, the Purple Dragon Knight, and to a greater extent, the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, is a book that came out. It was our first real material that we got outside of the original 3 books, right? We had Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide. We had a couple of adventures in Horde of the Dragon Queen, Rise of Tiamat, and eventually Princess of the Apocalypse, which Princess of the Apocalypse did bring the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which added some new races. It added a new bunch of elemental spells. And then we got the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, the sort of first new content for 5th edition. And you know, I don't really remember what the reception was when it was first released, but I do remember after the fact that pretty much everybody forgot about it. Maybe I should do a video going back to review it and see what went so wrong. But a lot of the stuff that was good in that was reprinted, but there were a few things that weren't. And one of those was a fighter subclass called the Purple Dragon Knight. Now, the Purple Dragon Knight is a specific name to an area of the Forgotten Realms called Cormyr, and it being the Sword Coast, it means it's Forgotten Realms based. The Banneret is a generic title for this archetype. So why don't we jump over here to D&D Beyond and take a look at it. This was interesting, right? It had a restriction. This was also, I think, the only book we had that had actual restrictions on classes, right? In that the Battle Rager needed to be a dwarf, and that the Blade Singer needed to be an elf, and the Purple Dragon Knight needed to be, what's it called? A knight and knighthood, right? Purple Dragon Knights are tied to a specific order of Cormyrian knighthood. And then it says Banneret is the name for those that are not. And then we can see, so let's take a look at the abilities. I'll tell you why I think it's bad, and I'll tell you where this thing came from originally, and then we'll talk about what we're going to fix. So you get Rallying Cry at 3rd level. When you use your Second Wind feature, you can choose up to 3 creatures within 60 feet of you that are allied with you. Each one regains hit points equal to your fighter level, provided they can see or hear you. So that is, Second Wind is an ability you get as a fighter that you get at level 1, and as a bonus action, you can heal 1d10 hit points plus your fighter level. Okay, that's not bad, but it's once per short rest. Reminder, every single fighter gets that ability, but every other fighter also gets something at level 3 that for the most part is either something that's always on or is multiple uses of it. So, for example, let's talk Champion Fighter, right? Another one people don't seem to really like too much. Champion Fighter, I think it's at level 3. You get the ability to crit on a 19 or 20. That you get at level 3, and that carries you through all the way to level 20, and that's never not a useful thing. The Battlemaster Fighter gets their different maneuvers. You know what? Why don't we go, we'll duplicate this tab, and we'll go just pull up Base Rules Fighter, and that should really help us rather than me just reciting what I remember off the top of my head. So here we go, Battlemaster Fighter. Right, at level 3, you are going to get 3 maneuvers, and you're going to get 4 superiority dice. So you're going to get all these big, long list of maneuvers, and that increases over time. And you are going to get additional superiority dice to a grand total of 6 at level 15. But you get all of those back on a short rest, just like you get your Second Wind back. So again, a Battlemaster is going to get Second Wind back, as well as all of their maneuvers, of which at level 3, they could do 4 times, and this can even be augmented further with feats. As I said, a champion, you're going to get to crit on a 19 or 20. That is something that people will be able to use from level 1 all the way to level 20, or from level 3 rather, all the way to 20, and that is an always on thing. The Eldritch Knight Fighter, while they're going to get 2 cantrips, those they can use forever. They're going to get their, bonded weapon, which is something they can use all the time. And at level 3, they're going to get 3 spells known and 2 spell slots per long rest. So they're going to get 2 always on cantrips, and I'm only comparing this to the player's handbook at the moment. We could do it to the other classes as well, but you're going to get, but again, all of the things that I'm telling you about are in addition to Second Wind and addition to Action Surge. And again, we can look at any of the other ones. You'd see kind of similar things. You get multiple options. What does the Purple Dragon Knight get? They get Rallying Cry. When you use your Second Wind, which is once per short rest, you can heal up to 3 other people your fighter level worth of hit points. Which, again, healing up to your fighter level, it's going to start at this point at 3 hit points. You're going to heal them up to a maximum of 20, is not bad, but you only ever get 1 Second Wind, so that's all it ever does. As, again, everybody else is going to get their Second Wind for their self-healing and then a whole bunch of other features they can use multiple times per short rest or infinitely. Then at 7, you're going to get Purple Royal Envoy. At 7 level, you gain proficiency in the Persuasion skill. If you're already proficient in it, you gain proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice: Animal Handling, Insight, Intimidation, or Performance. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses Persuasion. You receive this benefit regardless of your skill proficiency from this feature. So that's kind of worded funky. What they're saying is you always get the wording, just so let's read through that again. You gain proficiency in Persuasion. If you already had proficiency in Persuasion, you can get a choice of one of the additional 4 options. But you have double your proficiency bonus. We'll call this Expertise, as that's what a lot of people call it, but Expertise in Persuasion. But you receive this benefit regardless of whether you have the skill proficiency from this feature, but it gives you it. So, I don't know. I would just say you add double your proficiency bonus to any ability check you have that uses Persuasion. You just choose that, drop the second piece, and you say you gain proficiency in Persuasion and have, if you already have this, you gain the double. You know what I mean? It just worded funny, but it's fine. That in and of itself isn't a bad thing. It's a level 7 ability. It's some sort of out-of-combat utility. Not bad. I think we see this similar things to, I think, the Samurai Fighter has something similar to that. So let's go take a look. Samurai Fighter gets, whenever you make a Persuasion check, you get to make a bonus or add a bonus to it equal to your Wisdom modifier. And then you also gain proficiency in Wisdom saving throws. If you have this proficiency, you gain proficiency in Intelligence or Charisma saving throws. Also, the Samurai at level 3 got proficiency in either History, Insight, Performance, or Persuasion, and an additional language. And then they still got their Fighting Spirit ability, which was 3 times per long rest, and it does multiple things. So I might tweak this a little bit, but that's the level 7 ability. At level 10, you get Inspiring Surge. When you use your Action Surge feature, you can choose one creature within 60 feet of you that is allied with you. That creature can make 1 melee or ranged attack with its reaction, provided that it can see or hear you. At 18th level, you can choose 2 allies within 60 feet of you rather than 1. So what I didn't like originally is this is the 18th, like other fighters, all other fighters have an 18th level ability. This is your 18th level ability. When you get a second action, or like at 18th level, you can choose 2, but you don't get an additional, like a standalone 18th level feature. That felt kind of funky. So, but that makes me think, like, let's take a look at the Battle Master, because there's Commander Strike. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can forego one of your attacks and use a bonus action to direct one of your companions to strike. When you do so, choose a friendly creature you can see and expend a superiority die. That creature immediately uses its reaction to make a weapon attack and adds the superiority die to the attack's damage roll. Now, the benefit here is you don't have to forego one of your attacks to do so. You can just, when you use your Action Surge, one ally can use their reaction to make an attack. But the Battle Master can forego an attack, which again, they're going to have more attacks than anybody else. They can still use their action surge after that to get even more attacks. They do have to sacrifice their bonus action to do that, but as a Purple Dragon Knight, you don't really have a ton of stuff you can do other than your 1 second wind. And the Battlemaster fighter gets to add the superiority die to the damage that they roll, or the damage that they roll? Yeah, to the attack's damage roll to the whatever the ally's roll is. Again, the only difference is at 18th level, you could do this for 2 people simultaneously. And then lastly, you get Bulwark at 15th level. When you decide to use Indomitable to reroll an Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma saving throw, and you aren't incapacitated, you can choose one ally within 60 feet of you that also failed its saving throw against the same effect. If that creature can see or hear you, it can reroll its saving throw and must use the new roll. That's garbage. Like, why does it choose 3 Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma? Indomitable lets you reroll whenever you fail a saving throw, right? And at 15th level, you are going to have, I think, 3 Indomitables? 2 Indomitables. Yeah, 2 Indomitables, which we can use whenever you fail a saving throw. Here it specifically states, so your 15th level ability, for it to even be useful, needs to have to be a situation where it's an Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma saving throw, and your ally is subject to the exact same effect. Then they can, if they fail their saving throw, it can re-roll it, but it must use the new roll. So that is so many specific things that need to happen. Like, first of all, why can't it just be whenever they fail any saving throw? What does it matter, right? Why does it have to be Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma? You can extend your Indomitable feature to an ally, but only on these 3 saving throws, and only if it happens to be the exact same effect that you suffered, then it works. Like, and why is that the level 15 ability? Like, you get Indomitable at level 9. So, I think you can kind of see my point. It's definitely lackluster. It definitely seems poor in comparison. And again, I know a lot of folks say, and I do these fixings in other videos or these comparisons, where I only compare things to the new classes, the new subclasses that have come out in Xanathars or since then. People will say, well, you're only comparing it to those, and those are new and they're stronger, power creep, blah, blah, blah. As you saw, I compared this to both the champion, the Eldritch Knight, and the Battlemaster. Not to forget that the Battlemaster we talked about beginning, regardless of being tied to anything else, they have all the abilities that they do have with their different maneuvers. Their maneuvers are going to go from D8s to D10s to eventually D12s. They're going to get a free one whenever they roll initiative without it. And, then they also have the ability to know stuff about their enemies. They can take a feat to add more to it. The champion fighter is going to eventually get, at level 15, they crit on an 18 to 20. They're going to get a second fighting style. And then at 18, at the start of each of their turns, when they regain hit points equal to 5 plus their con mod, if they have no more than half their hit points left. So they get like an auto heal. And again, the Eldritch Knight is just going to get to continue to level up and gain more and more spells. They're going to get a 3rd cantrip, more spell slots. And then again, even I'm saying the Eldritch Knight is great because we know that there could be some things there to be fixed, but then they're going to get other synergies when they cast a cantrip. They can bonus action attack. They can hit people to give disadvantage on saving throws. They can teleport 30 feet when they use their action surge before or after the action. So they get that feature, and then again, cast a spell and make a weapon attack. But we have our level 3 ability is tied to our once per short rest mechanic, and it's not even unique from it, really, where everybody else has multiple stuff. We get only proficiency in 1 skill and then expertise in that, whereas other ones are gaining bonuses, they're gaining languages, they're gaining extra saving throws. When we make our action surge, we can have somebody else make one reactionary attack, whereas other subclasses can do that. And then our 15th ability is a pick and choose version of Indomitable that only works on a very specific set of abilities. So that is kind of what it is and what I think is wrong with it. So let's talk about fixing it. I did think it would be interesting to take a look at the old Purple Dragon Knight that I know of from 3.5 and see what they did then, and then use that to inspire how we fix this going forward. Actually, before they do that, I wanted to talk about a few other things that I just thought of. So first of all, as I said, it seems dumb to use existing resources that you already have and not getting something new. But I just reread this part, Rallying Cry. So one of the downsides of that is, if you want to just heal yourself and your allies are fine, then this feature is you use your second wind to heal you and it does nothing for your allies. If you're fully healed and your allies are hurting, then maybe you don't want to use it because you're not getting the benefit of second wind for you. But also with this, each one regains hit points equal to your fighter level, provided they can see or hear you, means this ability doesn't work when they're at 0 hit points. So you can't like use this. In theory, this would be a great way to like, oh my god, all of my allies are unconscious around me. Let me bump them back up my fighter level worth of hit points, get them back in the fight. If they're incapacitated and unconscious, they can't see or hear you. So it doesn't work for that. So that just seems kind of silly. Additionally, I was thinking about it that like a life cleric has a short rest recharge ability in, you know, their channel divinity, and at level 3 they can dole out up to 15 hit points to however many people and split it up how they want to do that using their channel divinity. You can only do 9 at this point. I think yours is 5 times your fighter level, and that's going to just get better, and yours is only going to be and that's to as many allies as you want. You can only ever pick 3, and then it's tied to your fighter level. So there's definitely some reworks that we need to do. So let's take a quick look over here at the 3.5 Prestige class Faerunian. It's a Faerun-based Purple Dragon Knight. So what did they get? So they get a thing called Heroic Shield, which is when you use the Aid Another action to improve an ally's AC. It got a boosted thing. The equivalent to this would be something similar to like using the Help action. So that's something we consider, maybe making the Help action a bonus action. That could be something. Rallying Cry, that's going to kind of be baked into some of the other abilities, but basically you could give people a boost to their movement speed and a boost to their attack roll. So we'll look into that. Inspire Courage, you basically got a function that was tied to the Bard. A way we could try to do that with this one is give them a version of Bardic Inspiration, maybe a lesser version of that. It's a tricky thing, right? Borrowing from other classes to do this kind of a thing. They've only done it very rarely, but they have. For example, the Conquest Paladin has a direct copy of the War Domain Cleric, where you can do the Warglad's Blessing, where you add +10 to your attack roll. That was a direct copy-paste. So maybe we could do that. They had a Fear ability, which would be basically giving you access to essentially the Fear spell. Oath of Wrath was basically an improved, it was an aura type thing that was going to give you bonuses to attack rolls, damage rolls, saving throws, etc. And then a Final Stand ability was you gain temporary hit points, and so do your allies. So you can see how some of that was sort of baked into the class, but I think that does give us some good options of things of where to go for when we actually talk about what we're finally going to do to edit this class. So I've taken some time to really think through this, and the whole concept of the Purple Dragon Knight or the Banneret or that is supposed to basically be this kind of master tactician, almost similar to like a warlord type character. We've seen classes like this and things in the past. But I thought a lot about it, and I've had a hard time trying to, because I really like some of the abilities. Like I was really trying to work that Fear ability that the old Prestige class had in, and I was just going to be like, you get one use of the Fear spell per long rest or something, and I couldn't really make that work. So I thought basically, I also feel like the Cavalier that was added in Xanathar's guide almost sort of took a lot of the stuff that was in this, because it was the Cavalier was originally called the Knight in Unearthed Arcana, and the Cavalier kind of is a better version of this in a lot of ways with the different abilities it had. But here's my thoughts on how we fix it. So we tweak Rallying Cry to do a couple different things. It still works with all allies within 60 feet. So when you use your second wind feature, it now says allies within 60 feet regain hit points equal to your fighter level plus your charisma modifier. It does not have a caveat of whether they can see or hear you. It is all allies within 60 feet, not just an arbitrary up to 3. So this also is nice because, like, what if you're playing a party with 6 people? Well, then only you have to prioritize. So no, allies within 60 feet regain hit points equal to your fighter level plus your charisma modifier. And the reason we put charisma modifier in at level 3 is things later on are going to be tied to your charisma modifier. And it's always kind of funky when you add something that's dependent on an ability score significantly later in the subclass structure. Because in theory, if you weren't building for that, then all of a sudden now an ability score becomes important. So that starts at 3rd level. Additionally, allies that can see or hear the Purple Dragon Knight can use their reaction to move up to their movement speed without provoking attacks of opportunity. So you get to heal people regardless, but if they could see or hear you when you're activating it, it gives them the ability to move and not provokes attacks of opportunity, right? You're a master kind of tactician person, a leader of troops. You should be able to rally and move them around. And then you gain an additional use of second wind at 7th and 15th level. The reason I chose that is because that's when the Battlemaster fighter gets additional superiority die. And that's kind of a unique thing. So my thought process behind still tying things to second wind is, even though that's a feature that you get for you as the fighter, you're going to be the only fighter that gets 3 uses of second wind. Now, second wind does recharge on a short rest, so you'll have, in theory, 3 uses of second wind on a short rest. So that makes you unique over all other fighters. So you've got good inborn self heals, but now your outgoing heals, when you heal yourself, you'll be healing your allies. It gives you an incentive to put points in charisma because they're going to get additional healing from that, and it lets you move people around the battlefield. Also at level 3, you're going to get bonus proficiencies. You gain proficiency in one of the following skills: animal handling, insight, intimidation, performance, or persuasion. You add double your proficiency bonus for any ability check with this skill. So that the kind of boosted social aspect comes in at level 3. So you're going to get more uses of second wind, overall 3 total uses, an additional one at 7, additional one at 15. You're going to get to heal all of your allies regardless of whether they're unconscious or not, fighter level plus charisma modifier. And then the only thing, if you think that that's too much, the thing I'd probably drop is the movement thing, because, and honestly, I'm kind of thinking I might drop the movement thing too. I like the concept of you using this thing, healing people, and then them being able to move. But the problem is, I said, like, if they can see or hear you, but if you're using this to heal somebody up from 0 to help keep the party going, did they see or hear you do that if they were unconscious on the ground? I don't know. So that kind of gets a little funky, so I might scratch that and just keep it. You're going to get the proficiency, the skill proficiency that gives you expertise in that skill. Your rallying cry works for all allies regardless of hit points, and there's no number to it. And it's fighter level plus charisma modifier. Now, at 7th level, I've decided to call it, I basically stole the Mastermind Rogue's 3rd level ability, but I'm giving it to you at 7th level with a couple of tweaks. We're going to call it Master Tactician. You can use the help action as a bonus action. That's something that the Mastermind can do. Additionally, you can use the help action to aid in attacking a creature, or when you use it to aid in attacking a creature, the target of the attack can be within 60 feet of you, rather than 5 feet if they can see or hear you. So the Rogue Mastermind here gets this ability, but they have to be within 30 feet, but they get it at level 3. You're going to get it at level 7, but it extends it out to 60 feet, and that was also synergy-wise, so that all of your abilities that are based on people being able to see or hear you are all within 60 feet. So that way you don't have to worry about, like, is this one the 30-foot range or the 60-foot range? And I added this one in because I thought this was kind of cool. So if you know the Thaumaturgy spell, right, one of the abilities from Thaumaturgy is your voice booms up to 3 times as loud. Now, I didn't want to give you a spell because I thought that that would kind of break the way the class would work, and it doesn't seem like it fits. So I just added as part of the 7th level ability. Additionally, you can make your voice boom up to 3 times as loud as normal, right? You're supposed to be this person out there commanding troops. You want to be heard. Also, a lot of your abilities state that when they're within 60 feet, if they can see or hear you, and if you can raise your voice 3 times as loud, that helps people be able to hear you. Inspiring Surge, the 10th level ability here, sorry. When you use your action surge feature, you can choose one creature within 60 feet of you that's allied with you. That creature can make one melee or ranged weapon attack with its reaction, provided it can see or hear you. What I'm going to do is keep the majority of that, but what it's going to say is when you use your action surge, allies, choose a number of allies within 60 feet of you up to your charisma modifier. They can make one melee or ranged spell attack with their reaction, provided they can see or hear you. So rather than it just being 1 at 10 and 2 at 18, it's now tied to your charisma modifier. Again, we mentioned earlier charisma was going to be important. So now, so that could be 1 if you have a very low charisma modifier. It could be a maximum of 5. And yes, I recognize that that's a lot, but it's forcing you to be multiple attribute dependent by putting points into charisma. And I think that that's okay. And we're going to strike that level 18th ability here, this one, because I always felt it was funky that the 18th level ability was baked in to another one. So that's what it is. Inspiring Surge, because at 17, you're going to get a second use of Action Surge. So that just is how that works. When you use Action Surge, choose a number of allies equal to your Charisma modifier. Those allies can use their reaction to make a melee or ranged weapon attack, provided they can see or hear you. Again, don't forget that depending on what the creature is and the allies are, obviously you can pick and choose this based on this, but let's say they use Shield. Well, then they don't have their reaction or counterspell, or they already made an opportunity attack, so it might not be something that everybody can get use of, or they may think, you're going to give me the opportunity to use a reaction to attack, but I want to save it in case I need to counterspell the villain. Something to consider. So Bulwark, we're going to change this ability here. It's going to now say, when an ally within 60 feet of you fails a saving throw, you can use your reaction to allow them to re-roll that saving throw with a bonus equal to your charisma modifier. You can use this ability charisma modifier times per long rest. Rather than it being, I was going to originally say you can expend a use of Indomitable. You only get 2 uses of Indomitable at level 15, and the max you get is level 3. Indomitable recharges on a long rest. And rather than this ridiculous caveated system here for the Bulwark that we have here, we're going to throw that away. And now it's just going to be not tied to it. It's going to be, again, tied to your charisma modifier. So minimum of 1. When an ally within 60 feet fails a saving throw, you can use your reaction to allow them to re-roll with a bonus equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. They must take the new roll, and you can use this ability, charisma modifier times per long rest. And we're going to add in a brand new level 18 ability, which we're going to call Final Stand, pulling from the previous Prestige class. And this is the one I'm a little shaky on, but I'm going to go with your Rallying Cry feature now also grants temporary hit points equal to your fighter level plus your charisma modifier. So the concept here is I basically stole the power and the ability of the Inspiring Leader feat, which is something that I feel like one of these characters might take, which is potentially a problem. And now that your level 18th ability gives you this, it may deter you from taking the Inspiring Leader early on. And that I do understand. So that may be something that we want to tweak. But the thought process was, so now at level 18, if you're using my Final Stand ability, when you use your second wind, of which you'll have 3 uses of, you can choose a number of allies, or all of your allies are going to gain, at this point, a minimum 18 hit points plus your charisma modifier, and then they're also going to gain 18 plus your charisma modifier in temporary hit points on top of that. So again, I use that Final Stand ability here because I thought that was cool. It was 2d10 temporary hit points in the past. The problem is I didn't want to step too much like on a paladin's toes, because a paladin is a paladin. They have auras. So like you could have obviously done something with auras, right? Where allies within 60 feet of you gain your charisma modifier to blah, blah, blah. But a paladin, which is an aura, is kind of one of their whole things, it only ever goes out to 30 feet when they reach level 18. So that seems kind of silly to try to do it that way. I didn't want to borrow directly from the bard, because right, we have the Battlemaster Fighter has this concept of using dice to do things. So that is an option. And the bard has the concept of using bardic inspiration to do things. You could obviously use that. I did use that first ability that I had mentioned, where possibly giving people movement was essentially stealing from the Glamour Bard's ability, where you can expend bardic inspiration. It gives people temporary hit points and lets them move without attacks of opportunity. So I was trying to use that concept. The problem is there's a lot of things that kind of fill this role already or can do similar things. So I tried to boil it down to what I thought was the best. Keep the general concept of the class, tie in charisma modifier in to make you more of a battlefield commander type, let charisma modifier improve your abilities overall, and make you more of that tactician. Like I said, final stand at 18 is a little tricky, because you could, in theory, with your extra fighter feats, or possibly being variant human plus fighter feats, could get inspiring leader much earlier on, and then the 18th level ability is completely useless. I will remind you that feats are technically optional, an optional rule that people don't have to allow if they don't want to. So if they're not allowing feats, then this ability is useful. If you are and you take Inspiring Leader, then yeah, your 18th level ability is completely null and void, and I don't know how I would fix it. So I'll leave that up to you all in the chat, in the comments. Leave me your thoughts on my fixing the Purple Dragon Knight in the comments down below. I think I'm like 95% of the way there on this. And I had never had a desire to ever play this class before, because I thought it was kind of weak. And now I'm kind of hoping maybe with these tweaks, this could be something people want to try out. I feel like a lot of people always talk about how useful the Rallying Cry ability is to heal people, but I also feel like people forget that you need to be able to hear them or see them, so it doesn't work when people are at 0 hit points, which is most of the time what people tell me is how they use it, because it's so useful to keep the party fighting when people are down, and it doesn't work when they're unconscious. So hopefully my tweaks improve things. So thank you all so much for watching. I've been trying to do a lot of fixing stuff. I've been getting a ton of outpour for asking for fixing videos. So here I am doing fixing videos for you guys. I also am going to be working on a bunch of other stuff. There's a couple other small short videos I've thought of that I want to do. I do have a long running list of video topics. Every time you guys suggest something in the comments, I throw it in a doc where I try to figure out what I'm going to do next. A lot of people have been asking me to cover more on Ars Arcana stuff that hasn't been published yet. Other subclasses, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment down below. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time.